right, DawgNation, welcome in. We've got another loaded to the gills show of DawgNation's Before the Hedges tonight. I am Jeff Sentell. Georgia's going on the road. I guess that's why I've got my gray vest on. That means silver breeches, gray pants. I sure wish they wore silver breeches like they used to back in the old days. Auburn is a road game this weekend. But right now, we're going to talk about Georgia football recruiting, brought to you by Kroger. Gosh, guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Got some good news, got some bad news. We got some Big Five action coming on. And yes, you heard it right. Yes, the headline's right. We have a special guest scheduled to appear at some point in our show tonight. He's a very busy man, but we have a very special guest in five-star quarterback Dylan Raiola expected to appear. He said he's pretty likely he's going to make it, so he felt good about putting it in a headline, putting it on social media. Dylan's a really responsible kid of his word. So I think it's probably going to be sometime around the 8:30, 8:25 hour, something like that. So until then, you've got me to kind of keep you occupied and keep you entertained with a very busy week of Georgia football recruiting. Like I said, got some good news. The good news is Ethan Barbour. You're going to hear from him tonight on his commitment day. You're going to see what it was like when he committed. If you guys have heard the stories about hashtag throw it to tight end, you're going to see a little bit of that. You're going to see the T-shirt. You're going to see the energy from Alpharetta High when he made that decision. We're going to talk about the bad news, which would be the Ny Carr decommitment. Kind of, in a little bit, kind of caught some people off guard. I will kind of go into detail about that when we hop into our Big Five. Got some great videos tonight. Dwight Phillips, you want to see highlights of his first real game back? Got that. He fought off an injury. Got a Sokovie White appreciation moment. I have to jump on my soapbox tonight and talk about Sokovie Hollywood White, because Sokovie is now the longest tenured senior commitment in the Georgia 2024 class. He chose Georgia October the 10th, almost a full year ago of 2022. So we're going to talk about Sokovie. We're going to talk about Ryan Puglisi's viral moment in his first game for Avon Old Farms and those Winged Beavers. That's the Big Five. But quickly, I got some topics on my mind to talk about. We're going to call this the Quick Five. Things are going on. First of all, we're going to get into Ny Carr a little bit, but I do think there is still a small chance. I didn't say great. I didn't say supersized. I didn't say jumbo. Small chance they're back with Ny Carr. Number two, it'd be very interesting to see the Dogs on the road, because a lot of Georgia's targets are scheduled to appear as guests of the Auburn Tigers this weekend. You got like five-star edge Zion Grady out of Charles Henderson Troy, Alvin Henderson, the running back out of Elba, Alabama. He's a four-star running back in the 2025 class. Ny Carr is expected to be there as a guest of the Auburn Tigers as well. Also, KJ Bolden. KJ Bolden last week had another big game against Marietta. He rocked some Georgia UGA gloves. Wouldn't read too much into that right now, not at this time. And so it's a pretty interesting time for the Dogs to put on a show on the road for their first road test in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which is already a very hostile environment. Great road crowd to be in the SEC. If you've never went to a Georgia game at Auburn, you've never experienced a game at Jordan-Hare, and you got some tickets to get over to Auburn, I encourage you to do so. You will never forget the excitement, the energy in that stadium, especially at kickoff. Recent visit from three-star nose guard Nnamdi Ogboko out of North Carolina, Garner, North Carolina. Took an official visit to check out Notre Dame for the Ohio State game. As of now, it's kind of can get crazy depending on how many defensive linemen Georgia closes with. But as of now, I would say that's still a strong, or at least a solid commitment to Georgia at this time. He even told some reporters after the game that he's still committed to Georgia. I think with Ogboko and Georgia, I think still that defensive line development is really huge there. You look at what Notre Dame's done, it's pretty decent. I think they've put about maybe 5 or 6, like 5th, 6th, 3rd, 4th rounders into the NFL draft over the last 4 or 5 years, but not quite like it is at Georgia. You're watching Georgia kind of, I guess I would say, keeping their options open. A couple of junior college offers have went out on the defensive line. one from a young man that grew up in Alabama. Another one went out in Kansas. Those are kind of the typical junior college football hubs. Right now, I wouldn't put a lot into that right now with Georgia on the defensive line front from the JUCO level. I do think the class needs at least one more wide receiver now. I think it needs at least one more defensive back and about two more guys on the defensive line. Of course, Aiden Breland and Michael Burrow would be the two names to watch there. I don't think Georgia gets back into the mix with like one of those hyped five-star receivers. I think perhaps the biggest casualty of the Ny Carr decision when he reopened his recruitment is Georgia kind of lost a lot of time with they could have invested into a big-time prospect or even a mid-tier prospect because they thought they had a really strong player in Ny Carr. So you can't just kind of jump in the boat and say, hey, remember me, because I think recruits will kind of see through that. And then the next thing, something to think about, I'm giving you a quick six here, I guess, instead of a quick five, is something to think about when you watch the Florida Gators play. Defense is coming along. That defense is looking pretty good, especially at the linebacker spot, especially in their front seven. And also something to think about. Now, Florida's going to need about a couple years of this, but right now they have the second highest rated recruiting class in the SEC. That's number 3 in the country, and that's even ahead of Alabama. Even their per recruit average, I think that's what On3 does now, is they don't really rank a team score by the number of recruits. They rank them by the average commitment and what the score is there. So if you got more 4 stars and 5 stars than 3 stars, you're going to weigh really heavily on their algorithm right now. But Gators looking pretty good right there in terms of getting mighty again, or at least getting a little mightier under second-year head coach Billy Napier right now. 3rd in the country, 2nd in the SEC. Of course, Georgia is number 1 in both of those metrics right there. That was some quick recruiting talk. Let's jump right now into our big 5. Give me 5 up on the screen. You put me 5 fingers in the air if you don't care. We are expecting Dylan Raiola to join the show sometime during the broadcast. I'm thinking about 8:30 or so. So that's what he's kind of said it would be a good time for him to hop on. Very busy dude. We'll talk to him about his busy schedule during the week. But something to keep in mind. I know people are probably saying that in the chat. The first thing we'll start about is I think Georgia, number one, the big story of Georgia recruiting over the last week is I think Georgia lost a really special playmaker in Ny Carr. He could play the Z for Georgia. He could probably play the nickel. He could probably play a lot of places. He plays a lot of X for Colquitt County. And you're talking about, I think, one of the best 5 or 6 receivers in the country. I think he's rated the number 10, the number 11 overall receiver in the country. I actually think Ny Carr, I was talking to somebody about this just a couple of weeks ago. I think he can challenge the Georgia 7A record this year. I believe he's got 10 touchdowns right now. I think Colquitt County is going to play at least 13, 14 games, maybe even 15. I think he can challenge the Georgia 7A record for touchdown catches in a season with 24. That's held by Travis Hunter. Of course, the Georgia record, I believe, is 29, set a few years ago out of Georgia Class 2A ball at Rabun County right there. You know, it's one of those things like it's funny what I read, and everybody's got their message boards, and everybody sometimes sends me emails about, hey, Jeff, did you hear this? And I think a lot of the public opinion initially thinks it's a Florida State thing and going with his boy Landon Thomas. I don't think that way at all. I think it's Miami there for a lot of reasons. And, you know, one of the things I heard, and I've got a pretty good source on this that I would trust about this, is I think Georgia learned about this a couple weeks ago. And I think Georgia, maybe when Ny Carr was feeling like a decommitment, Georgia got him to kind of hold off on that, come back to Georgia for the South Carolina game and kind of see how things were after that and see how he felt after that. And obviously Knight has felt like he was ready to make a decommitment at that point and reopen his recruitment. He'd been committed to Georgia since July of 2022. So I do feel like Georgia has a chance. They're still going to recruit Nye as well. But he would have been a very, very effective playmaker in the Mike Bobo offense. I mean, Bobo was a guy that actually Georgia's interest in Ny Carr actually picked up once Bobo got on staff because, you know, Mike's from Thomasville. He's a South Georgia guy, believes in 229 football, and he was really a big fan of Ny Carr and his game right there. So that's kind of what I'll cover there in terms of Ny Carr. Don't think the chances are amazing. I think they're kind of smallish to Georgia to get back in the mix with Ny Carr, but I will tell you this, I did put him back on the top targets list because of all the wide receivers in the country, and I do think Georgia needs to get one more at least in this class. Right now, Ny Carr is probably as good as target as any because you've got that long-standing relationship with the staff, BMAC, the commits, and the commitment chat as well. The second thing we're going to talk about, and we've got a really good video package we put together here from Ethan Barbour, the all-around number 4 tight end in the country. He committed back on Friday to the Dawgs, the nation's number 4 tight end. Todd Hartley's already got his homework and he's got his advanced work done for the 2025 class, and here we are, not even in October of 2023. Really good chance. I went out to Alpharetta High School. Barbour told me he was gracious enough to kind of give me a lot of insight into his recruiting. Said he'd made the decision about 4 weeks ago, but it was a good time. And Alpharetta High School, the staff, the football staff, and some of the folks there, they couldn't really tell me the last time they had an SEC-level recruit. I think Ethan Barbour will eventually end up in one of those All-American games. But right now, if you weren't there, you want to know a little bit more about Ethan Barbour. Big smiles all around. Check this out, one of our many DawgNation conversations tonight. Ethan Barbour on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger.
And we are out here for Ethan's big day. Make some noise for him.
It feels really great. I appreciate y'all students here, our student body. Y'all played a big game in this commitment, always supporting at the games, support during school, so I really appreciate that. And then my family around me, they've been there since day one, supporting me since I was a little one. And then all my coaches, Coach Brandon, Coach Kroger, developed me as a little kid, developed me as a leader to be this day. My other coaches as well, so feel really good.
All right, Ethan. That's what everybody came here for. You see, everybody got their phone notes. Everybody's excited about what they're going on. Everybody get on your feet. Get on your feet. Everybody get on your feet. University of Georgia.
They got special people over there, and it's a special program. New dynasty in the making, so really feels like I'm over there. So that's why I'm gonna be spending my next 3 or 4 years.
Hey man, give it up for one more time. There is only one real way to end this. You gotta get the tagline so we can go ahead and get up out of here. Is it Go Dawgs?
Go Dawgs!
Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Tell me about the necklace. What, is that your little flare? That your thing? Tell me about that.
Oh, this is my mom's idea. She said, "Oh yeah, you got to get a necklace, so you got to do it different than everybody else." So she bought it from, I don't even know where she bought it from, but we got the chain a couple days ago, and then she bought the pin for it. So that's what she wanted to do. And then she on top of that, she bought the throw to the tight end shirts. So that's our new trademark. We trademarked that slogan, hashtag throw to the tight end. So yes, I knew it probably about 4 weeks ago. I've been there so many times, seen what coaches like, seen what they do in their program. So I knew. I called Coach Smart about 3 weeks ago, and I told him I think I'm ready. So that's what happened.
You mentioned when you were up here that it's a new dynasty in the making over there. Just what do you like about just the overall program that Coach Smart has built, and how are you going to help keep it going forward?
He's built something special over there, best defense in the nation, trying to have the best offense in the nation too. So he's making everybody work over there, and when I get there, I'm gonna work too. Can't be slacking off for anything. You gotta make sure you work over there because if you're slacking behind, you're not gonna get that starting spot. Ultimately, the starting spot is that goal because when you get that starting spot, then you get developed, you're going to get developed as well. You get that playing time as well. You get starting to play other SEC teams. SEC is the best conference in the nation, so you play those other SEC teams. It develops you for the NFL because that's the next goal. The way Georgia uses their tight ends, they need multiple tight ends. Like, they're really, for the way they use the tight end, they're really slim right now. Lawson's hurt, Pierce is hurt, so right now they're down to Delvin Bowers. They have 2 tight ends in the game for like most of the game, so they need multiple tight ends. So the tight ends that they get right now, they're good. You have to work and ultimately get that spot. You got to beat those other tight ends out. Coach Harley, special man. Like I said in a bunch of other interviews, he's basically going to be another father when you get there. Going to take care of you off the field. I'm going to coach you hard. Going to love on you. So that's what we really like about a coach. Coach that's not going to drive you in the ground, and the coach is not going to sugarcoat anything because they're not going to sugarcoat anything on the next level. So Coach Harley, he's a special man. He develops tight ends like nobody else. So that's what really special about him.
Ethan, when you were at the cookout, you led the group of tight ends in at least one drill. Did that just feel right for you? Did that feel like the vibe that these are guys you could play with?
Oh, yeah, ultimately, because those are people that you're going to be playing with when you get there. You're going to have to make relationships with them. They're going to be in the same tight end room as you. Cohen, Jaden Riddell, they're good guys too, great athletes. So you got to play with them, and you got to make relationships with them as well.
Hashtag throw to the tight end. What does that mean? Tell me about that.
Oh, throw to the tight end, man. Tight ends are dominant weapons on the field. They dictate defenses. You can bring the safety down. You can open up receivers for deep balls. You can get numbers in the run game. So that's what's really, really special about a tight end. They do both things. They can block in the run game. They can run routes. So, they're just a matchup nightmare. Smaller safeties, they try to get on your back and catch the ball like this. So they can't really do much with you in the run game. If you really, really can hold up, you can block 6 technique DNs, and then you can block second-level linebackers. So that's what makes tight ends really, really special.
Whose idea was that?
The shirts. Oh, that was my mom's. But my dad that came with the hashtag. He said he's gonna trademark it now. So throw to the tight end. Yeah, my mom she wanted to put that on the shirt. She said that's what we stand by now. Tight ends are involved in the game. That's a new position up and coming.
Ethan, I think Kirby told you we're not going to take anybody else. We're not going to accept any commitments until you say no or you say let's ride. What did that mean, and how special was that?
Oh, that was really, really special. It showed me that I'm top priority as a tight end. It showed me that they want me and nobody else. They was going to wait until it could be December, it could be January, it could be February, it could be even the summer. They were still going to wait, see what I was going to do because I was their priority. So that was really, really special.
To follow up on what Jeff asked, why did you choose now to commit to Georgia? You've got a little over a year before you would sign. Why did you choose now to jump on board?
I chose now, the recruiting process is speeding up now. More and more people are committing earlier, so, it's about time to lock up your spot, and you have the opportunity that you want, you're going to go and take it. This is the opportunity I wanted, so I thought I should take it now.
Thanks, Ethan.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hashtag throw to the tight end.
Hashtag throw to the tight end.
Gotta love that. Hashtag throw to the tight end. Ethan and his family. Really cool thing about that family is his dad served in the military and got an MBA from Duke. Very serious-minded family. His sister just graduated from Vanderbilt. She was almost the valedictorian of her class in high school. Very serious-minded, very education-based family. And it was cool to see him with the hashtag throw to the tight end there as well. Again, guys, I'm going to try and pop in and out with a lot of these. Got a loaded show. We also are expecting probably around 8:30 or so. I kind of feel like Ryan Seacrest or Dick Clark at New Year's Rocking Eve. We're trying to maybe count down, maybe around 8:30 or so, maybe about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So we're expecting to have a special guest in Dylan Raiola. 5-star quarterback commitment, obviously having a great season so far for Buford High School. Now, my mom always raised me right, and she said sometimes you can't talk about what you lost without looking back and saying, appreciate what you have. And I think that was one of the reasons why it kind of just felt right for me to kind of talk about Sokovie White. 3-star wide receiver Sokovie White. Had a couple of interviews of Sokovie that I'd always been wanting to show you guys. One with his head coach, Steve Gates. The other one was Sokovie White right before the season started. But check this out. I got his stats for last week. Last week, he only played a half. And for folks of you that are playing Georgia or SEC commit fantasy football, I think there are people out there that actually do that. I'm not joking. he had 7 catches for 125 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. Sokovie White, his season stats right now, he's averaging 16.2 yards per catch, but 34 catches for 552 yards and 9 touchdowns. It's kind of like sort of like the type of season that Ny Carr was having. But, one of the things about, Sokovie is, like I said earlier, he's now the longest tenured commitment in the class. He committed to Georgia last October from Northwest Georgia. Todd Monken loved him. Could he play some corner? Yeah. Could he play some nickel? Yeah. He'll probably be like a return man option, a slot option. He will enroll early at the University of Georgia in January after a bonkers senior season for Cass High in Cartersville, the Cass Colonels. But I wanted you guys to kind of get a little taste, get a little idea of what Georgia has there. Really special football player in my mind in Sokovie White. He's one of this perennial going to be like, recruiting analyst guy can sound smart when they say that a guy like Sokovie White is never going to be appreciated because he's only 5'9" and about 185 pounds. And he's a 3-star, but folks, this is a guy that will be something formidable for the Dogs in Athens. Don't take my word for it. Let's take up with our second DawgNation conversation of the night. Here's Sokovie Hollywood White and also his head coach, Steve Gates at Cass High School. Steve, actually a former Georgia Bulldog offensive lineman himself. Check it out right now on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. How are you better going into senior year than you were junior year?
Bigger, faster, and I know a lot more, and I know the teach around the game in high school, and that's just really it. I can just beat people off with speed. I'm a lot stronger than most of the kids on the field, and that's just really it right there.
What do you think keeps you committed to Georgia? Like, what's the main reason why the main hook still?
Really them winning games, the players that we're getting, and the bond that I have with the coaches and the players. I mean, that's a special bond. We have one of the top recruiting classes in the country right now, and just all of us playing together with top talent is going to help me make it a lot more easier for me to play and to get the ball, whether I'm on offense or defense. So that's explosive player, a very, very explosive player, and I'm going to make plays. And I'm gonna stay locked in, and you gotta worry about me getting in the transfer portal. I mean, my parents tell me that don't leave when stuff get hard. So if anything gets hard, I'm not one of the people that you gotta worry about that's leaving. Really just trust God, and I have faith in God that He's gonna help me in whatever I'm doing, even in my struggles, in my high days, my low days. So that's it.
He's an extremely confident, humble man. And that's been probably the most gratifying thing to watch him grow into. It's just he's not going to back down from anybody at any point in time in his life. I can promise you that. So it doesn't matter if you're a 6'3" receiver. He'll jam you. I'm just telling you, he will jam you. And that's just part of life. So.
What's your prediction about where he plays the most in college?
He'll start out at slot for Coach Smart. That's where he's projected. But he's an extremely dynamic ball hawk, and it wouldn't be surprised if he got some reps on defense. No doubt he'll be a punt and kick returner, just with his athleticism. But you can see some corner in his future.
So how much did the recent 4.4, was that expected, validated, or did you know he was going to?
I knew he was fast. But just like Coach Monken, obviously he's not with Georgia, he said it best about Sokovie last year to me. He said Sokovie's as fast as he needs to be. And that's sometimes he gets bored at practice because he is so elite that he gets bored, and so he kind of sometimes gets into cruise control and goes as fast as he wants to go. Well, some of the kids that day we did the combine were saying that he wasn't real fast, so he got kind of ticked off about it. And said, I'll just go ahead and run a 4.46 and be done with it and just show you. So once he gets to Georgia and realizes that everybody standing around him can run a 4.46, then I think that'll even increase his motivation and get him. Sokovie in 3 years at a combine would not surprise me if he ran a low 4.3.
And he's what? 5'9", 190 right now? Is that 5'9"?
5'9", 185, yeah.
Awesome.
And he's a over 1,000-pound kid in the free weights, so he's 300 and something bench, 300 and something power clean, and then 450 somewhere in there for squats. So he's extremely strong.
You're not going to have another one quite like him for a while, or maybe ever, right?
He could be. He's pretty special.
It's pretty special. You know, it's kind of funny. Like I said earlier, before that we teased that clip, and before we set up that clip, when you lose something pretty special, you lose something pretty important to you. Make sure you look around and be thankful for what you still have. And I think Dog fans really probably don't know what they have in Socovi White until he starts doing maybe some of the stuff Makai Muse is doing right now for the Dogs, but a lot more, a lot earlier in the game, and punt return. Going to be a great weapon for the Dogs, and it's just somebody to get really excited about going forward. He had 4 touchdowns in his first half of his game last week. He's got 9 for the season. Plays some safety, wants to play some corner, some nickel. I think the 2 things that stand out about that video, I hope you guys, the things that my ear went to, first of all, he said that, the 4.46 time was basically when he got called out or challenged by his teammates, and then he runs a 4.46 because they didn't think he could run a 4.4. But then Steve Gates said, look for him maybe when it's time to go into the NFL Combine, and that'd be 4 years from now probably for Socovi, maybe 5. He said, look, it wouldn't surprise him a bit to see him run something in the 4.3s, the high 4.3s. And then you combine that. Did you hear those lifts? Over 300 on the bench, over 1,000 pounds in, squat, power clean, and bench. You're talking about a slot receiver, one of those quick guys, one of those twitch guys, and he's got that type of strength, and he would press anybody when he plays corner. I just really think Socovi Hollywood White is a really special football player. And now, after the loss of Ny Carr, he's been committed to the Dogs longer than anybody else in the nation's number 1 class. So there we go. We've got another. We got another guy, the 4th member of our kind of. Looks like I think we have a special guest. Without further ado, QB1. I think he committed to Georgia back in May. You guys know who he is. Dylan Raiola out of Buford High School. Dylan, 5-star quarterback, number 1 quarterback in the country. Dylan, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, Dylan, man. First of all, let me ask you this. I know you're a busy dude, man. It seems like every one of your days is regimented. Can you just give DawgNation, everybody watching, a little window into, what's your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? What are all those days outlined to do? It seems like you're doing everything with Buford right now.
Yeah, so we start with Sunday. I go in, meet with my coaches, Sunday night about the game plan, kind of just a vanilla idea of what we want to do and how we want to attack it. And then after that, Monday's a heavy install day, getting all our plays that we want to see on tape, get it out there, get that done. Watch it Monday night. And then, after that, Tuesday's our 3rd down day. And we kind of preview, some red zone, but, stick to 3rd down is a crucial day for us, just to, keep the chains moving and things like that. And then, Wednesday's a more slower paced day. We kind of do things flopped, than other programs. We have a slow day Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll speed it up. We'll have a full inside run, full team period. So we're hitting pretty much the day before the game just to, get our minds right. And then Friday's game time. And, Friday mornings we come in, we stretch. Everyone kind of is in their own world. And pregame's its own animal. We all have our own little routines or whatever you want to call it. And by then it's whatever we got to do to win.
And I think Dylan's got a lot of stuff. I don't think he shared with you half of it. I know some days he meets with his receivers, and I know he's kind of being humble. I think Wednesday was a night where he meets with his receivers. I think Tuesdays and Thursday mornings you're up at 5:30 and with the boombox working out, doing agilities with your brother. I know sometimes you go in early on Sundays and watch film, and it really feels like you already got a pro or a professional lifestyle right now, trying to get the best football you can out of yourself. Dylan, you got a lot of things going for you, man. 2 things I've noticed this year is, one, you can throw the ball really well. You can lead a team down. You can read a defense. Where does this great teammate stuff come from? I mean, it's like everybody tells me you'll hoop and holler in the locker room like everybody else, and you can be a character. You just kind of quickly won over your team. it's one thing to throw the touchdown. It's one thing to look like a 5-star, but like, how do you try to invest in being a real guy amongst your team?
Yeah, I think, Buford does a great job of that, just allowing people to just be themselves. And my parents done a great job, growing up my whole childhood of, respect people and stay humble. And I feel that that's kind of where, I'd say the good teammate comes out. I mean, it's just been great. My teammates just allow me to, be with them all the time. We're always with them. I mean, they're always pointing to me. We're pointing to each other. So, it's a two-sided relationship, and we all love being around each other. Every moment we can try and be around each other, we are. So it's just a lot of fun. We trust each other. That took some hard work, but now we have each other's trust. We really can just go out there and know that they'll make a play for me.
Dylan, a lot of great players got to find some juice. They got to find some motivation. What motivates you these days? Is it something day to day? Is it long-term goals? Is it short-term goals? Like, when you need to get juiced up, where do you find your energy and motivation from?
I get it from the Lord first. Every time I go out on the field, it's for me, it's imagining God's on the goalpost or Jesus on the goalpost watching me play, and to just play for His glory. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of things outside that you can't control, but if you keep that perspective, nothing really can bother you. And I think that's kind of where you say, I feel pretty comfortable in, the big games and, just having a great coaching staff put our whole team in a position to be successful for these big time games and prepare us the best we can.
Dylan, I think I try to keep up with your stats every week. I don't consider you to be a stats guy, but I think you got 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I think you're completing about 66% of your balls. Like, is there anything you pay attention to, like with the way you play or your stat line, that you want to be a quarterback that is a high percentage guy, that avoids the turnover, that protects the ball? What sort of values there to a quarterback are really important to you?
I think keeping the ball in our hands and not turn it over is huge for us. But I think completion percentage and having weapons on the outside go hand in hand. I have tremendous athletes on the perimeter that, I can spit the ball out to and they can make plays. So, the completion percentage is not just me, it's my offensive line, it's my running backs blocking, it's just everyone on the same page and our guys making plays. I solely believe that, I can't do it all by myself, and my team does a great job of, going out there making plays and making my job easy.
Dylan, let me ask you a couple questions. I know the fans always want to know your opinions on things as one of the leaders of the class, and I know how hard you worked for a long time behind the scenes to try to put the best class together. First of all, this is kind of a fun question. What did you think of KJ's gloves? Did you approve those gloves last week for the Marietta game? I mean, did you make sure if he wanted to wear some gloves, he have some? What did you think of KJ's gloves last week?
I thought it was pretty cool. I had an idea he was going to pull them out this week. Thursday, normally everybody wears what they're going to wear to the game just to get comfortable. And he came out them on Thursday practice, and I asked him what was going on. He said, "I'm rocking the Georgia gloves on TV." I said, "Shoot, let's go." And, he balled out in them. And I think it's just pretty funny that people notice that.
You should probably tell him to wear them every week. I'm sure you probably already told him that.
Yeah.
Dylan, I guess the Ny Carr stuff, a lot of, he was a great player. And I know, what was your reaction? I know you'd built a bond with Ny, and I guess chiefly you want the young man to do what's best for him and his family above all else. But, what was your reaction to Ny Carr's decision? And, what do you think that leaves the class now at receiver?
Yeah, it hurt. It stung at first, knowing the kind of guy he was, kind of athlete he was, and what he kind of brought to this class. But at the end of the day, I told him, I actually sent him a text, and I told him that, everything's going to be good, man, and I'm supporting him wherever he goes. So he's a great player. He's gonna do great things in the future. So, it hurt, but, we just got to go back to work recruiting some more wide receivers. But, our 2 guys we got now are elite guys. So I feel comfortable about it.
Dylan, lots of fans are joining in, just saying thank you. Thank you for coming to Georgia. Thanks for what you're doing. Dylan, when you're at Georgia now and you're watching the Bobo offense, or you're just there, what's that feeling like? Are you being a football nerd and watching everything and watching what he's doing with quarterbacks, responsibilities, pre-snaps, or are you just sitting there taking it all in and looking at the light show and thinking that's going to be me next year? Like, what goes through your mind at a Georgia game these days?
I think sometimes if they're not on the wristband, I try to pick their signals. It's kind of fun doing that. Just kind of, understand the game of football and kind of what they're trying to do. But yeah, I think you see it from a different perspective now, being committed, always being there with, the offensive line, tight ends, and just showing them like what we can do and how we can, implement our talents and our skill set to come in and play football for the University of Georgia. I think it's a tremendous honor. And I feel that, our class is ready to come in and play. Nobody's entitled to, being a day one starter. That's not on anyone's mind. It's coming in, being the best version of themselves and just kind of fitting into that culture of what Coach Smart has established.
Dylan, do you still have your recruiting hat on for anybody? I'm sure you'll continue to talk to KJ in your own kind of classy way. But, what do you think this class still needs? Is it another receiver? Is it another defensive lineman? Is it another defensive back? Who are you still going after for the class, hoping to get them to play with the Dawgs one day?
I think KJ is for sure one. Aiden Breland's another. And there's some receivers out there that we're working on. But I think our class is elite, and that's a big testament to what Coach Smart has done and his whole staff. And then we just got to keep all the guys committed that are committed right now, because there's great bonds we've all created with each other. Like I said, we always check in. We still do. Like Daniel Calhoun called me the Monday night and was asked me how the game was last week. And it's just that kind of relationship we all have with each other.
Dylan, I kind of laughed when I saw you after your first game, I think, or maybe it's the St. Francis game. And you were talking about the ways you've acclimated yourself to the state of Georgia. Excuse me. I know you like to try to eat clean and eat like an athlete, but you've had some Waffle House moments from time to time. I got to get a Waffle House update here, and anything else in Georgia that you haven't had before that you really like that maybe you didn't get out in Arizona?
Well, it's funny. I went to Waffle House. I think I've been once this season, actually. I actually come home with my family, and we have our, my mom gets food, or she'll make some food. But, Waffle House is what the guys do. I went one time with them, and, the Waffle House is good, but, I feel like it comes to a point where you can't keep eating it. The food is really good, but it's not good for you. You don't feel good the next day.
Sure. Dylan, I guess last thing for you, a lot of times, even us as reporters, we were kind of guilty of looking at your season and saying, hey, let's see how he does in Georgia high school football. Mm-hmm. And from every time I've talked to you, I just got a real sense from you that football is football, and you just wanted to prepare and work, and like you've always done. What have you noticed about playing in Georgia, if anything, or is it really just football is football, or what have you started to pick up now that you've played 5 or 6 games in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, I think the statement football is true, but at the same time, Georgia football is a little different. And playing 5 games, you kind of feel it and you can see it. You got to come with ready to play every week. Every game's not going to be a pushover, and I feel like things that you don't do right get exposed, and I think that's football, and that's real. So I think it prepares and gets you ready for what's in the future to come for everyone on our football team.
Dylan, I'll summarize some of the comments. People are saying you're a soldier, good job, great answer. They also want to know a couple things. Do you know how much you're supposed to dislike the Florida Gators now that you're a Georgia Bulldog? Have you picked up on that at all? I mean, and is there a team you can't wait to play as a Dawg that you just know you're really in the middle of big-time college football?
I understand the Florida part. I know I'm not a Florida fan. So y'all don't have to worry about me being a Florida fan. But I think the whole SEC is tremendous teams, tremendous college atmospheres. So I don't think there's one game I could pick out that would, I'm looking forward to. I think all of them are. But, next season's schedule is going to be pretty legit.
Dylan, one comment here I thought was funny. They said, Dylan, please get your spatula out and flip Jeremiah and KJ. So I don't know.
I'm working on it. KJ's a little easier because he's, one of my best friends and my teammate. Jeremiah, we're still chopping at the bit, but we'll see what happens with him on signing day. I think he'll go down to signing day with his decision.
Dylan, last question. You've gotten a lot of high-level advice from your dad, from your uncles, from your first coach when you played for John Kitten in Texas in Burleson. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten about playing the game and playing quarterback in particular? Is there anything that you really are in lockstep with a lot that you kind of come back to it a lot?
Yeah, I think it's more than football. You can't be a certain person on the football field and expect to be a different person off the football field. You're going to be one person whether you like it or not. You can't fake it. You can't cover it up. So I think the game of football teaches you a lot of great life lessons, and it can kind of just help teach you some different lessons in different sorts of ways that the game does that other sports can't. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is understanding football is not the end all say all. There's a bigger thing to life than there is just football, and that's something that I keep with me all the time.
Hey, Dylan, true to your word, I'm going to try to keep you to like 12 minutes or 10 or 12 minutes or so. One thing, folks, that was just not a prefabricated answer because it sounded good. Dylan is a young man that leans a lot on his Christian faith. I remember the first time I talked to him maybe 2 years ago, and it sounded like he might wind up at Georgia. He literally said the same answer, that he plays the game like Jesus Christ is on the goalpost, and he does everything in the game to glorify him. And Dylan, I just want to say thanks a lot. I told you a lot of our listeners and audiences have been coming, kind of giving me a double A-gap blitz because we haven't had you on yet. But I know you got school. I know you got film. I know you got everything in your playbook. But, hey, man, I certainly appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. And go Dogs.
Take it easy, Dylan. There you have it. We tried to go quick game with Dylan Raiola. He's literally, it looks like he's probably poring over a playbook right now, trying to make things better for his Buford Wolves. Interesting answers. I thought it was pretty cool how he talked about KJ Bolden there, how he talked about how Ny Carr hurt. Did you pay attention to how close and connected this class is when he talked about Daniel Calhoun's calling him on a Monday, just kind of see how his game went? That's what you want to hear from your future Georgia Bulldogs right there. It's kind of funny that Dylan drops in the middle of our Big Five. So you guys, for the price of nothing on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger, you get a Super Six of things going on right now in the midst of our show. And I think it's appropriate that in between a piece on Sokovie White and a piece on Dwight Phillips, you get QB1, you get the first quarterback committed in the class, the number one quarterback committed in the class. And, we got more show. The show must go on. I think it's very appropriate that we have a great and you guys, you can lament the fact that Georgia lost a big-time playmaker in Ny Carr. Certainly he's somebody to think, dadgummit, would have helped the Dogs a lot. But you got to remember, I think this class is built around the offensive line, the 6 offensive linemen that Georgia have coming in, and then also the 2 quarterbacks. That's not just Dylan Raiola. Let me show you something here from this past Saturday night. This is Ryan Puglisi here at Avon Old Farms in Connecticut. Folks, he had his first game. It's kind of crazy with everybody looking at him right now in his first game. And Dylan's on game 5, game 6. And in Connecticut, they do ball a little bit differently there. This was the first game here for Ryan Puglisi. He goes 10 out of 12. I think he throws for a couple hundred yards and 2 touchdowns and runs for 1. But take a look at this clip right here. We're going to have it in 2 spots. One is the throw. I think it's already went viral on social media. I think over 85,000 views when I first tweeted it out on Sunday night. And then we'll have a slow-mo. And this thing covers 61 yards in the air with a lot of great touch. Check it out right now on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. Here we got some slow-mo right here. You see there, Ryan Puglisi. One of the things he'd worked on, guys, is just more touch, more accuracy, more laying. He didn't have to, throw the ball to New Hampshire if he wanted to. You think of that Crash Davis line, anything that goes that far needs to have a stewardess on it. I kind of looked at it as I'm going to put this video out on Twitter, and folks are going to be reaching for an air sickness bag. That thing traveled so far in the air. There's Ryan Puglisi, also a top 10 quarterback in the country for Georgia's class. I don't know if Georgia will be able to get a 2025 quarterback because those two dudes, Dylan Raiola and Ryan Puglisi, are the very much real deal Holyfield, as Snoop used to say. But amazing video. I love that throw. I think it caught a lot of people's attention because not only do you have a guy like Dylan Raiola there that is probably everything you'd ever want in a leader and a quarterback, but you've also got Ryan Puglisi as well, who you can say pretty much all the same things for: competitor, committed, wants to be a dog, not going to back off being a dog, ready to come in and compete. I mean, that just bodes well for the future of Georgia football. You look at places like Florida, they have to go to the transfer portal to get a quarterback, a senior quarterback. The same thing for Auburn this weekend. They have to get Michigan State's quarterback after Florida got Wisconsin's quarterback. Alabama had to go find Notre Dame's quarterback from a year ago and to try and put together their quarterback position. In Georgia, the future of the quarterback room in Georgia is very bright, and I think the present is as good as anybody in the SEC as well. Speaking of something very, very good, on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger, our fifth part of our Big Five tonight. Let's take a look at this. Dwight Phillips Jr. had a chance to see him. I was told by the Pebblebrook staff that he was finally full go for the first time this season. Last week, they faced an unbeaten Harrison team, and we're going to tell a story here with the video. But a little bit of bad luck, but a lot of fight through it, adversity, play through it. I think Dwight Phillips, you're going to see some highlights here. After getting hurt on the first play of the game, he plays the rest of the game at about 70%. He ends up with 102 yards rushing and a touchdown on 14 carries. Check it out right now tonight on Before the Hedges.
Dwight Phillips, man, I know it wasn't the outcome you wanted. Tell me what you're working with tonight. I bet you came into this game thinking, I'm ready to roll, I'm ready to run.
Yeah, I actually got hurt on the first play of the game, but I told my teammates I was going to tough it and I would try to win the game. But, everything happened for a reason. Can't win all of it.
I think probably, 85% tonight? I saw you limping noticeably in between plays.
70%.
And I think you almost had a highlight run there when you jumped in the end zone, man. Do you know you took off from like the 3?
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So, Dwight, how would you describe the season so far? Like, what have you been fighting with just to get ready to play tonight?
Just trying to get my ankle right. It's been bothering me for a minute. Just trying to keep myself going.
You did have your first touchdown of the year tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
What did it feel like to get back in the end zone again?
It felt good. I was excited.
Dwight, I think you took your official last week to Georgia, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that like? What's memorable for you?
The game.
Yeah?
Just seeing them come back versus South Carolina.
Did you get a chance to hang out with Nate a lot?
Yes, sir.
What's that guy like?
Hey, okay, he's pretty cool, laid back, like messing with the girls, but that's my dog.
What does he think about Georgia? How much does he like Georgia?
1,000%.
How do you feel about his addition to the class?
Oh, I'm happy. They just keep adding.
What was your favorite part of your official? Did you do anything cool?
Nah, I was chilling.
Were you?
Yeah, I was just chilling. Enjoying the experience.
Do you think you'll be able to go? Are you worried about you're going to be fighting this health all year long? Or when do you think you'll be able to be 100%?
About November, December. I'm not gonna lie.
November, December, huh?
Yeah.
So you were close to 100% tonight, but then on the first play,
yes, sir.
they got tangled up on your ankle, I guess, or something like that?
Yes, sir.
What did that feel like? Were you a little annoyed?
Yeah. I try not to be too hard on myself.
But you looked a little stubborn. You're like, I'm going to go back in there.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you want to hop back in there?
Because, my teammates, some of these boys I've been knowing since I was young, so I can't just give up just because my ankle hurt a little bit. Just got to keep going.
Dwight, what will you take away from this one? At least you got to be out back on the field. At least you scored again. Now, what can you build on from this?
Well, for me?
Yeah, what can...
I just got to keep being the dog that I am.
Thoughts on getting ready for Georgia, man? I'm sure you get a taste of it in a game like that. What goes through your mind when you watch the Dogs play like that in a big game?
I can't wait to be in that uniform. I can't wait.
Dwight Phillips, first touchdown of the season, fighting through injuries, fighting through a bad ankle, still got in the end zone tonight. Hey, Dwight, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Dwight Phillips, some people call him the Lightning, Dwight Lightning. Impressive. I don't think they come much faster, 10.26 in the 100 meters as a high school junior. I look for that number to go 10.1 or lower in his senior season. Played last week, got about 100 yards, only about 70% right there. One of Georgia's 3 running back commitments in the 2024 class. They have Nate Frazier, number 50-ish overall. Dwight Phillips is around number 90 overall, and then Chauncey Bowens, who's right around 130, 140 overall. That's 3 backs in the 2024 class as Georgia reloads that running back room after it looks like a mash unit right now heading into Auburn this weekend. Guys, we've had a lot. We've had Sokovie White. We've had Ethan Barbour. We've had, Dylan Raiola. We've had Ryan Puglisi viral throw, and we've had Dwight Phillips Jr. as well, trying to really just stuff this show to the gills here on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. You've seen all that. Now it's kind of the stuff that stays on the table each and every week, the salt and pepper, the sweet and low, the sugar packets, whatever you want to say on the table for Before the Hedges each and every Wednesday night. Let's take a look at the 2024 class breakdown. And it was funny, a little bit of color into our show. We were looking at the commits and their positions in the class breakdown, and Kaylee, our producer behind the glass, we were sitting there and she was like, "Oh, it stings taking this Ny Carr name off this commitment graphic that she works so hard on and makes everything look so great each and every week." Let's check out the board. Georgia now has 26 commitments, still the number 1 class in the country. You see Dylan Raiola there. You see the stars there. That indicates a top 100 overall prospect that's committed. The wide receiver room lost a little weight there, lost about 32 career touchdowns right now with the decommitment of Ny Carr. We spoke about him early in the show. I think he winds up somewhere else than Georgia. I would look for Miami there, not so much Florida State or even Auburn. You see the 3 offensive tackles there. Offensive tackle Marcus Harrison put out some good film this week after finally getting started as well in upstate New York only a couple weeks ago. Malachi Tolliver, Daniel Calhoun, Michael Uni as well. You've seen Marquez Easley at Sanford this year. You've seen Malachi almost every week. Daniel Calhoun's there almost every week. Sokovie White, the same can be said for him. There's your class breakdown on offense. Now let's go to the Drew Miller page. Drew Miller continues to kick the ball like he's some medieval catapult, sending it all across Iowa. I think sometimes I'm looking for one of his highlights to have him leave the state with one of his punts there. Plays quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback and will be a punter in Athens. He's the nation's number 1 punter. And then let's go to the defensive side of the ball. You see there, Georgia's loading up on defensive linemen. I still think they take 2 more, maybe 1 to 2 more. You see the linebacker class. That's another envy of college football there. Remember, Chris Cole just recently committed to the Dogs. You see 2 corners there in DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson. Will Georgia go after a North Carolina commit, Mr. Ziegler, Malcolm Ziegler? Well, what will Georgia do? Will they try to heat things up with Cam McKell out of Statesboro? Is Cam McKell going to be recruited by Georgia now for the foreseeable future as a wide receiver, which has kind of been his preference all along to do both? That's something from Colorado that caught his attention as well. That, my friends, is still a salty defense right there. Everybody on that graphic, almost everybody on that graphics, 8 of those guys are top 125 overall commits right there. I don't think people are talking enough about Jordan Thomas, the defensive lineman out of New Jersey. That's one of those guys when if you had to sit there and say, Jeff, give me your best commits in the class, who were the 10 highest priorities, the 10 that should go on and have the best careers in Athens. I don't like to do that, but if I'm being honest, I think Jordan Thomas would easily be one of those top 10, top 5 guys perhaps. He just moves so well to be a big man at that size. That's your class breakdown. Let's take a look at the snapshot. Now down to 26, now down to 8 in-state commitments. 1 fewer on the offensive side of the ball, 15 offensive commits, 10 defensive commits. The state with the most commits is still Georgia. It's kind of interesting. Georgia still has 2 offensive players among the 5 highest-rated commitments, Jaden Riddell and Nate Frazier. Offensive players among the top 10, you still have 5 amongst the top 10 as well. One of the things the Ny Carr decommitment does is it takes away. Georgia used to have 11 top 100 commits and 18 top 150 commits. You heard Dylan Raiola talk about how the class is still pretty stout, pretty beefy, and pretty amazing in its own right as well. Guys, that is your updated recruiting snapshot. And after the snapshot, top remaining targets. We have a new addition there this week, Ny Carr. We move him down to 4th. He's now undecided. I would probably say when you're looking at the top remaining targets, that's probably a guy you could go to. I think, is it Mike Matthews? Is it another wide receiver? Is it Ryan Wingo? I don't think those are as likely as getting a recommitment from Ny Carr, but I actually don't. If you heard me at the top of the show, I think the chances are still, I would classify those as small to get a recommitment from Ny Carr. There's Michael Bureau out of Fairburn, Georgia, Creekside. He's going to play Mays this week, which is Quintavious Johnson Jr.'s team. LJ McCray out of Daytona Beach. Seen his rankings sky a lot. He's now a 5-star. You've also information sources tell me that Florida is now kind of firmly the team to beat there for LJ McCray. And then Aiden Breland, even Dylan Raiola mentioned him as the guys he's still going after. Teammates of Nate Frazier out at Mater Dei in Santa Ana, California. He's a 5-star on some services as well. Big defensive lineman. Georgia can never get enough of those. Kirby Smart's Georgia always focuses on the trenches no matter what, and that would be a fine closing stroke or two if you could add a Bureau and you could add a Breland to this class, and then you think about where's the wide receiver and then where's maybe perhaps another defensive back as well. Those are your top remaining targets. Guys, normally I always try to get questions in with a guest like Dylan. I was trying to kind of hop around and do both, but we wanted to make sure we had about 10 good minutes of Dylan here on our program live tonight on Before the Hedges. Speaking of live, now's your live Q&A time. You got any questions? I'll be surfing through the Facebook feed and also the DawgNation homepage and also the YouTube feed as well, looking for questions. Marshall Fleming, he's like, it's a good point here, Marshall. One of the things that probably I needed to say with my overall thoughts on the wide receiver position is I think, look what Georgia did with Ra Thomas and look what Georgia did with Dominic Lovett. First of all, folks, Ra is really starting to come on. If you noticed his social media, he recently became a father. He had a nice little tribute message on his towel last week for UAB. I think this is going to be a focus guy that's really going to start diving in and getting what it means to be an all-around receiver and play Georgia Bulldog football. I think his upside is vast, and I think he's going to be one of the better players on Georgia's offense for the second half of the season. I think the same could be said for maybe Lawson Lucky as he continues to get healthy. It was encouraging for those that want to see a more explosive, high-powered Georgia offense to see Lawson Lucky running around, suited up, going through, running some routes prior to the game. Doesn't look like he's all the way back, but it looks like he's working his way back there, which is great. Maybe perhaps if he gets one more week or two of kind of easing it back in there, if he's not ready to go against Auburn, then perhaps you got Kentucky the following week, and then you've got Vanderbilt, and then an off week before Florida. Good things, good potential, good encouragement there by seeing Lawson Lucky, but probably the thing that struck me with Marshall's thought was I totally agree. Dominic Lovett, Ra Thomas, I think maybe in the future as it's going to get harder and harder to recruit these wide receivers, especially those that want a significant NIL attachment to their eventual decision. I think it's probably just better to go get a developed player, a second-year, third-year player out of the transfer portal. Maybe if you're only going to have him for 1 year before he heads off to the NFL, then that's fine because at least you know you have a proven product with a proven playmaker and contributor in major college football. David Wayne Carroll, do I feel Auburn is stronger against the rush or against the pass? I think it's kind of like a 55-45 situation. I just don't think Auburn has the pieces and has the personnel to go up against Georgia. Probably the best thing for Auburn to do would to get an early score on Georgia and then perhaps get that crowd behind them as well and just kind of get Carson Beck used to dealing with that SEC hostile environment. Frankly, I'm going to be in the group that thinks there's nothing that the SEC schedule can show Carson Beck that he hasn't seen climbing his way up the depth chart against Georgia's defense, that 2021 defense, that 2022 defense for the past 2 or 3 years. David Riddle's got a good thought there. David, I've always felt that Georgia would have a steep kind of a runway to get to its best football 4 or 5 games down the track. You get Carson right. You get some of those young players right. Folks, do you continue to see how good C.J. Allen, number 33, looks on that field on Saturdays? I think he's one of those guys that's going to be very, very special. I remember having some spirited debates amongst a lot of the recruiting guys that cover Georgia. Some guys were Raylan Wilson guys, rightfully so. Some guys were Troy Bowles guys. Some guys were like I've always felt that I thought C.J. Allen had everything between the ears, inside the shoulder pads, height, weight, all that. He just has everything to be a very special player. Let me see. Going to Facebook. We got some people talking about mixology. We got some people talking about chicken wings. Hopefully they're lemon pepper. Let me see what's going on. That's on Facebook. Let me check out what's going on YouTube. What'd you guys think about Dylan? What'd you guys think about having Dylan on? He was a great guest. I knew he would be. A lot more than him to just playing good football. A lot more than just playing great football as well. Let me see. We got some fun people hanging out. Looks like we got a couple Gators in here. Always good to have some friendly banter in the YouTube thread. Everybody playing the feud, family feud. Actually, if you want to go back to the beginning of the show, I actually said some nice things about Florida, about their defense, about the recruiting class they're putting together inside the chat today. Randy Payne, good seeing you as well. Good seeing all the folks that are going to make it into the DawgNation invasion as well. Let me see. Got some. Anybody got score predictions? What does everybody think? You know what? That Kentucky-Florida game, pretty tight right there. I think I was doing some research kind of for our Go With The Flow this week, and Florida has the chance to stop a skid that they haven't lost to Kentucky 3 times in a row since like 1951. First of all, if anybody is in this feed that was watching those games in 1951, I applaud you because it's a pretty awesome feat. I think that's like in Bear Bryant territory right there. But let me see. Lots of people spamming the chat messages at all. So let's see this. Hey, guys, tried really hard this week. Wanted to put together a really great show for you guys. Long overdue kind of spotlight moments there for Dwight Phillips in the class, Sokovie White in the class. You got Ryan Puglisi playing football, and what do you know, creating a viral highlight. Very strong first game for him. One of the things I wrote about on Sunday night after kind of recapping Dylan's first game is he's heard it. He's heard that, you can't be the gunslinger. You can't be trying to throw the football through a brick wall all the time. You can't be John Elway out there. Sometimes you got to take a little bit off, complete the balls you need to complete. Drop those dimes, drop those check downs, and I think you're going to see a more complete season, a more complete player out of Ryan Puglisi there for Avon Old Farms out in Connecticut. Georgia is blessed to have 2 very stout, very impressive on and off the field quarterbacks in this class. And then you also got a chance to see what I think is a really cool dude, Ethan Barbour. Got a good family around him, but also really he's one of those tight ends that I think he's probably the most ready to play tight end right out of the box that maybe Todd Hartley's ever signed or stands to sign. Like, he is a true tight end. Sometimes he loves to bang with he loves to bang. He loves to block. He loves to be that guy that's going to move somebody back and push a guy back and help out the run game. Of course, he can run routes. He's got the route tree that's really impressive as well. I think Lawson Lucky is probably the only other guy that comes to mind when you think about a complete tight end like that. Probably, Lawson was probably the best route runner of any tight end in the country a year ago. And as we mentioned a few moments ago, can't wait to see him on the field as well. Anyway, guys, that has been a Before the Hedges brought to you by Kroger. I always try to say this every once in a while, guys, but thank you. Thank you for being part of our show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued interest in Georgia football and Georgia football recruiting and this product we put out here every Wednesday night brought to you by DawgNation. Thank you, each and every one of you, for making that time out of your day to do so. Thank you to the marvelous Miss Mansell behind the glass as she puts together another show. We had this lady hustling today. We had her waiting on admitting Dylan Raiola into the chat. She was popping graphics left and right. She is still scorned by having to take Ny Carr's name off the commitment list. But, sometimes that's just what you got to do. You got to put it on, and you got to clock in and go to work. And, guys, that has been another Before the Hedges. I'm Jeff Sentell. That has been your intel. Be well, everybody. Can't say enough how much we appreciate it. I love every one of you guys out there for making our show a part of your night each and every Wednesday night. Guys, that's your intel. Be well, and we'll see you guys again later on the pages of DawgNation.com.